earlier today, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee approved a resolution in a 10-7 vote allowing Barack Obama to use force in Syria. That's a fairly close vote. I'm actually surprised that it took place as early as it did. Now, this does not mean, we're on the way to Damascus necessarily. We still have to go through the House. It still has to go through the full Senate and all of that. And there's some twists and turns that are pretty interesting in terms of who ended up voting for, against, and voting present in regard to the resolution. But it looks like at least the first hurdle has been passed, and in record time.
Okay, so Jimmy, you're psyched about this. Hey, yeah, we're going to Syria.
I can't wait. I think we have to stand up to evil. We can't let it stand. There's international norms we have to make sure,
Jimmy, if we don't stand up to evil, evil will think we're a pussy.
That's right.
Yeah, you guys did it again, man. You got me to laugh about Syria. Okay. So, John, talk to me about who voted which way.
Okay, so
who voted president? Was it
It was
Obama
one Democratic
voted?
senator. I didn't actually see the name. It was one Democratic.
Ed Markey voted president.
Oh, that's interesting.
Strong stand,
Ed
yeah.
Markey is, of course, is now among the most progressive senators, but he did not vote no, so that's fascinating. He's from Massachusetts, took John Kerry's spot. John Kerry is now before him, trying to convince him.
Maybe it was that's a no vote, and but a little respect at least to John Kerry.
Yeah, no question. That's a great call by Ben. Tip of the hat to John Kerry to just vote president. Also, tip of the hat to Barack Obama, who voted president, I think, on 47% of the votes. Yeah. Okay, that's a Republican line.
Well,
but
one thing I want to throw out there is
real quick, of the 7 who voted no, who are the most interesting, it's 2 Democrats, Udall and Chris Murphy, and then 5 Republicans.
Yeah, Chris Murphy's dead set against this. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is it obviously could have been shot down here before going to the full Senate. But of course, I think that we have some sort of vested interest as a country in having the Senate debate this. If it died in committee, that would seem a little bit weird. So I wonder if anybody felt that they needed to vote for this, not necessarily because they support conflict in Syria, but because they feel the need to have the full Senate discuss it and then have a full vote.
Well, so I'm curious about McCain in that context. Maybe that's what he meant. Because otherwise, I don't understand. Because apparently the war hawk is not in favor of this resolution, which is unbelievable. So, John, what's the details on that?
So earlier today, well, actually, I guess I should say earlier this week, McCain had not been incredibly clear on exactly where he stood in terms of this conflict. He said it would be terrible if we didn't take some sort of action, but then he's criticized the sort of action that we might take. He said early today that he would not support the Senate's Syria resolution, but then in the end, he ended up siding with the other 9 senators in voting for it. Now, as Cenk alluded to, perhaps going by my theory, he did so that we could have the full 100-member Senate debate it and vote on it. Or it could be that because he's a hawk, he may not like that we're not going as far in terms of actually putting boots on the ground, invading, or in a more significant monetary fashion aiding the rebels in Syria. It could just be that if this is what he can get, this is what he's willing to take.
Or it could be that Casey Hunt, who filed that report for MSNBC, misunderstood her conversation with McCain, or he misspoke to her, because she's the one who broke this. But assuming that that's correct, McCain basically was saying war, 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 then said, I don't think I can support this resolution, then said, if the Senate doesn't back the president, it sends a seriously bad message and could be catastrophic. And then he said he won't vote for it, and then he voted for it. That's basically how it went down.
So, and wait, these were the guys who criticized Kerry for being for the Iraq war before he was against it. That's interesting. So McCain was for this vote before he was against it, before he was for it.
Yeah, I think he left one out, but yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The devil's advocate position, I guess, would be that this is an incredibly complicated situation. He's responding to a Senate resolution that was not written a few days ago, and so he does need to respond to it as it's written. But is it incredibly ageist to speculate that perhaps he's losing some percentage of his mental faculties or his ability to remember exactly what his position on the issue is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I retract what I just said.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't get a sense from McCain that he's losing, his senses in any way when he's on television.
He went all in with only he needed a 7. I mean, he went for the inside straight. If that's not a sign that you've lost everything, I don't know what is.
That's a bold move.
Yeah, it's a bold move.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, reference to him playing poker during the hearings.
Yeah.
He figured, well, I already know how I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote pro-war. And then he got confused on which the pro-war position was.
Exactly.
He's like, wait, this is not enough war. I wanted more war.
Yeah,
and he says in his criticism of the resolution that he then voted for, he says this does not do enough to change the situation on the ground in Syria. It does not do enough to aid the rebels against Assad's regime. But of course, that's not the purpose whatsoever of the resolution, or at least not the stated purpose, as Barack Obama and John Kerry have said. And so it's an odd criticism when everybody is saying the only way that many of the senators and representatives are going to vote for it is if it does not do that, if it's limited in terms of its scope.
So I'm curious, Jimmy, that you might agree with that, like that this doesn't accomplish much, and hence what's the point? But does that mean that if it did accomplish more, you'd be in favor of it, or no? Like,
No.
so you're against it under all circumstances?
So under all circumstances, I'm against it because it's just more war and there's no reason to it. Certainly not the reason they're giving us. I have a hard time believing that Barack Obama gives a shit about the civilians in Syria. I really don't think he cares. And because if he did care, if that was really the litmus test of innocent people, why aren't we bombing North Korea? Why aren't we bombing?
Because we can. And isn't that fair? Look, I'm going to take you guys on that, okay? Because, so we can't bomb Russia if Russia uses chemical weapons because we don't want to start World War III. You're right, absolutely, right? Okay, but why don't we take the low-lying fruit? Okay, like send a message wherever we practically can. So North Korea, I'd love to decapitate all the leaders in North Korea and set that country free. But we might lose Seoul, South Korea, and millions of people.
Within
we can't
24
do
hours.
it, right? And if we can do it in Syria and help some people, well, okay, that's a good place to start.
Well, the reason why you can't selectively enforce the law is because it breeds disrespect and contempt for the law. So if you're trying to uphold international law selectively, you're doing the exact opposite. You're undermining international law. So if you wanted to really set a line, you would have went after Israel for using phosphorus in Gaza. You would have went after the United States for using phosphorus in Fallujah. If you cared about international norms, you would have maybe bombed America because we illegally invaded Iraq, and a million people were killed, displaced other millions, countless. How many thousands of innocent people were killed in that? That was an illegal war. We lied about it. If nobody kept us in check, somehow we have to still keep other people in check. I said it yesterday, you can't have Tony Soprano giving out parking tickets. It doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, but here's it's totally hypocritical, but then we're paralyzed and can't do anything. And if Tony Soprano is elected sheriff, he's going to hand out parking tickets.
Okay, I disagree. I think we could start being consistent.
Yeah,
I think we
okay,
could stop torturing people in Guantanamo. I think we could stop torturing people in our own prison systems. There's a lot of inhumane shit happening right here that we could fix first. Why do we got to do this? Because that's not what it's about, you guys. If you guys keep pretending you think this is about chemical weapons, that's so ridiculous. I don't know what it's about. I have to speculate because the government is lying. A lot of people said, well, this is sent because of Iran. We have to send a message because Iran might try something, or North Korea. We have to send a message. And I'm like, so this isn't about this. So now we have to kill other innocent people to send the message that you're not supposed to kill innocent people in a worse way. It's just so backwards. I can't believe that I have to argue this point.
I think you're right on the second half, which is that it's crazy that we have to kill innocent people to send the message that we shouldn't kill innocent people. And I think that that's it. I don't know what the message is, and I don't think there's some here. I don't see it. No one's presented it to me. You haven't presented it here either, which you even said you don't know. But I don't get why it would be except for the reasons. I just think those reasons, and so do you, those reasons aren't strong enough. I think that when we live in a world where 100,000 civilians are killed in Syria, right, or 100,000 killed in Syria, many of them combatants, but many of them civilians, right? Most, almost certainly not. And then for 2 years that goes on, and we live in a world where Wolf Blitzer gets to ask on CNN, why don't you think anybody cares about Syria? Like, well, you don't talk about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody showed us those bodies. Then we get a moment where chemical weapons are used, and we see the bodies, and we have this reaction. Inconsistent as it may be, people reacted differently to that because they saw it, and all of a sudden there was intense coverage of Syria. My hunch is, if we'd had that kind of coverage, if we'd seen 400 dead babies on month 3 killed by a missile strike or executed in a room, then maybe there would have been a movement to attack then.
So why don't we don't go to the international court? We don't have we don't prosecute them. This is a crime. So why don't we prosecute them? Why don't we put out a warrant for his arrest, Assad's arrest? Why don't we do it like that? Like the rest of the world, does against Dick Cheney and George Bush because they're war criminals. That's why they can't travel internationally. Why don't we do it that way?
So let me build off of Ben's point. So Jimmy, if you're saying we've been hypocritical in the past,
in the current, right now we're hypocritical.
In the very, very recent past,
right?
Okay.
Currently,
yeah, I agree
Monday.
With
right? Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Of course, I agree with you. Right? That's not the sensible position. That's the correct position. It's a matter based on facts. Okay, you're right about that. But by the same point that Ben was making during the civil rights movement, we could have said, I mean, you're telling me that the country that has, enslaved these people, that has oppressed them, that has segregated them, that has done all this stuff, now you're going to trust them to do civil rights? Well, you got to start somewhere. Yes, You're right. We were a giant hypocrite and we were terrible, etc. And part of the reason, look, this is goofy because I just saw the Butler and it had this scene in it, but JFK in that movie says, I didn't know this was my country, because and to put the movie aside, a lot of people saw that kind of vicious racism for the first time. Vicious. I mean, they've seen other forms of racism throughout, right? But in the North, the West, etc., they're like, oh my God, look at what they're doing to those people. That's the first time they saw it on tape. So it changed them. So is it possible this is the same, where we actually see the dead kids and it changes opinion a little bit? Plus, this is the beginning to fixing our hypocrisy?
First of all, no one thinks this is going to solve the problem. No one thinks this is going to stop him from using chemical weapons again. Yet we're still going to do it.
Well, I think some people think that. I think that if we punish him harshly enough for using it, could dissuade him from using it in the future.
How many innocent people do you have to kill to make that?
I don't know what number it will be, but if we don't do...
But it'll be pretty high.
So if you do it really...
Okay, go ahead.
You talked just a few minutes ago about the alleged and probable use of white phosphorus weapons in Israel earlier this year. Now, Israel says they did not use it in its weaponized form. It has both weaponized and non-weaponized forms. It can be used just to screen troop movements and things like that. We even use it for that purpose. So if we don't punish Assad for using chemical weapons, doesn't that send a message to Israel in the future? That even you, they did get
come on, John, I was with you until you said that.
I'm not saying it's not just about...
what if the U.S. bombs us for using chemical weapons?
I'm not saying we're threatening to bomb them, but I'm saying that it's not just, we're going to talk about the red line, I totally understand that. Chemical weapons are banned internationally. It's not just because Obama said something 2 years ago that all of a sudden we developed some sort of opposition to chemical weapons.
Yeah.
They're banned, and that ban is supposed to mean something. And just because the rest of the world won't step up and actually say these weapons should continue to be banned and a threat should go behind that ban, does that mean that just because the rest of the world won't do anything, we shouldn't stand up when necessary?
Yes.
Listen, on that point, I agree 100% with John. Now, Jimmy,
hold on.
No, Steve, hold on.
Right,
let me address the panel. Okay, Jimmy, I got to ask you this. Okay, so is there any red line for you? So if we don't bomb them, right, and Assad goes, great, there's a green light, man. So hold on. So he thinks, okay, well, they're not going to do anything, and he's right. We're not going to do anything, right? So he says, okay, well, if I got free reign and these guys have been a pain in my ass for 2.5 years, that's it. I'm going to unleash sarin gas on all of them, okay? So last time I killed 1,400. This time I'm going to kill 140,000 with chemical weapons, and nobody's going to do a goddamn thing about it. So what's your take on that? One, that won't happen. Two, that's not on us. These are legitimate positions, right? But I'm curious what your take on it is. And is there any line where you would say, all right, let's come on, we got to do something?
Well, this idea that the answer to a war crime is more war is what I'm rejecting. So I don't think you saying, can Assad do anything so horrible that you would okay some missile strikes? Isn't there another way to handle a war crime? Aren't you supposed to go to an international court?
So
don't you go to the UN? Wait. Don't you go to the UN and you try to get the UN? But you try to rally the world, don't you? Aren't there nonviolent ways to deal with this first? Or you just immediately, even before the UN has its report in, you just go ahead and we got to bomb these guys. So this rush to war is so ridiculous. And if you go in, you can't go in alone. You have to go in with the world. That's just the way it is, Cenk. I mean, unless you, because I don't think that's why they're going in, Cenk. And if you think they're going in for chemicals, I'll have to respect that. But I don't think that's why they're going in.
Okay, so listen, I do think they're going in for chemical weapons because they have no interest in Syria. They let that war fester and 100,000 people die for 2.5 years because there's no oil in Syria and they don't give a damn about Syria. And that's what we've been saying here all this time. And that's what you've agreed to and a lot of progressives have agreed to. Now, all of a sudden, what changed the equation? The chemical weapons changed the equation. Now, Jimmy, you make really valid points. And I think maybe one thing that we can achieve some consensus on is, look, I don't think there's a peaceful way of doing it. It's like, hey, Assad, we're not going to send you flowers anymore. That's not going to get the job done. But if you said, hey, listen, we're going to follow the law to we're going to follow it to the letter of the law. Okay, so meaning we're going to take a vote, but we're going to wait until the UN comes in with its report so that we have proper evidence. I'm with you, okay? Now, President Obama did the right thing asking for congressional authorization. That swung me in a big way. I thought that was the right thing to do. It was very, very important. If he hadn't done that, I was 100% against it, okay? Now, number 3 is you could then go to the UN, and the UN might vote no, and the Security Council would vote no.
Unquestionably.
Unquestionably, Russia and China would vote no. Then we say, hey, we tried, and they said no. Now, Assad would view that as a green light, and my guess is, he dropped chemical weapons again. We go to the UN again. And at some point, Russia and China might say, you guys are right. He's done this too many times. Maybe. We got to go. Maybe. But, Jimmy makes a decent point. But that's what the law says, and that's what we should do. So
if the evidence on chemical weapons comes back overwhelmingly yes, but the Security Council says no, the Congress says yes, you say no.
I'm torn on that. Here I am, back to torn on that issue, if it came down to that. But that's a perfectly legitimate argument to make. 25
years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, pre-George Bush, we didn't question Bill Clinton's motives for Kosovo. We didn't question it we didn't question it anywhere where we sent humanitarian aid to. And now all of a sudden we doubt everything. We think there's some ulterior motive. I don't. I think it's this. I don't think. But then I swing back to Jimmy's point. Is I think the motive is pure, but who I want to agree with more than anybody is John's point, except I need somebody who's incredibly smart to say, oh, this will work. This will have some, if it has no effect, then you're just
that's a big problem.
Then you're just a 12-year-old teenager who's killing the kid who had nicer sneakers. Then it's just about respect. And it's silly and a giant waste of time.
I know General Westmoreland said after 9/11, he went over to the Pentagon, and the guy told him, hey, guess what? We're going to go into Iraq. What did Iraq have to do with this? He goes, I don't know, nothing. A couple weeks later, he went back. He goes, you're not going to believe this. We're going to go into Syria. We get Lebanon. They're going into they got a whole plan to reshape the Middle East. This is right after 9/11. They had plans to go into Syria.
Jimmy,
so I'm just saying, don't think that people haven't wanted to do this for a long time. And I'm not saying that's exactly what this is, but this isn't chemical weapons.
So a couple of things on that. And I want to go on to what Obama said. It was generally Wesley Clark.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said Westmoreland.
Yeah, it's okay. It starts the same exact way.
Yes.
And Wes Clark is right about that, and we all know about that. Was the neocon plan, and they wrote it out even before they came into the Obama administration. But I don't think that's what's. I'm sorry, before the Bush administration. I don't think that's what's playing out here, because if you want to go to Syria next, you had 2.5 years to make that case. They never even made the case. It's not like the neocons don't know how to do propaganda. You press that button and a wall of propaganda hits the American people. They didn't press the button. And look, Israel is on the side of attacking now, okay? Israel was not on the side of attacking for 2.5 years. Why? Because they prefer the devil they know. And they know Assad, and they know that he doesn't do shit to them, right? He'll crush his own people, but won't do anything to Israel. I don't know why Israel flipped on it, but they did. So is that part of our decision making? Have you been paying attention to American politics? Of course it's part of our decision making. But I don't view that as nefarious. I view that as if you're Israel, Assad is never going to harm you. And so the fact that they're now saying we should attack Assad, I don't think that's a bad thing.